Welcome to the first of what I hope will be a line of reviews videos on various things, I suppose. This is the first. It's a Cambridge Audio Duo. Before I get into it, I'd like to say that I'm by no means profess or pretend to be an expert, audiophile or otherwise. This is more of a review from an average person's perspective. I would count myself in that category, most definitely. Although it's a bit of a journey learning about this stuff, and it's been very interesting. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that. So this is a phono preamplifier. What it's supposed to be used with is a turntable. The reason you would need one of these is because the output from a turntable without a preamplifier is extremely low. That's due to the nature of the cartridge. It's effectively a stylus that moves back and forward and moves a magnet in the vicinity of a coil of wire. For anyone that knows a bit of electronics, you end up with electromagnetic inductance, which gives you a voltage. That's not a huge amount of voltage, and it's certainly not enough for an amplifier to work with. So this would typically sit between the turntable and whatever else you're using to amplify it. This one in particular has a headphone output as well, so it doubles up as a headphone amplifier. If you look on the back, it's got inputs for moving magnet and moving coil types of cartridges. Moving coil being the more common. Moving magnet, higher end, lower output, bit harder to drive. But this will do both. I initially thought it was called the Duo because it had a headphone output and it was also a preamp. That's actually not the case. It's because it does moving coil and moving magnet style cartridges. Single phono output and a ground that, from experience, I can tell you really does make a difference. So make sure that it's grounded to all your other pieces of equipment. The more eagle-eyed among you might have noticed that it's also sitting on the table right next to a screwdriver. Hopefully this isn't where this piece of kit meets its demise, but well, we'll see. I'm sure I'll be able to get it back in one piece, but I just wanted to open it up, have a bit of a look at the circuit board and see what it's like. It does seem like a very high quality piece of kit. It's this is the first time I've taken a screw out, and straight away you can see it's a nice fine threaded sort of machine screw style. I dare say this is probably quite a tedious part of the process, so I'm just going to continue with this and cut into the next scene once it's fully opened up. Okay, so I've got it opened up. It really wasn't that difficult at all, to be honest. A couple of screws in the back. There was 4 in the bottom. For some reason, they were a lot tighter than I would put them. Pretty difficult to get out, but managed not to strip them, so that was a win. Initial impressions: very, very well laid out board. The colour and everything wouldn't look out of place in a MacBook. I've taken the liberty of taking these 2 screws off here so you can have a look at the switch mode power supply. As far as I know, like I say, I'm not an expert in these things, but switch mode power supplies, they do generate a bit of RF interference. That's why you've got this metal plate in here. Maybe a linear power supply would be better, but they're a bit old-fashioned, inefficient, maybe cost prohibitive. You can see that both the inputs have completely separate stages, so that's very nice to see. They're not mixing things together. It doesn't seem to be a poorly made thing at all. It's very well designed, very nice. I have looked at other reviews of this. They say, for the price point, it's very well made. It's about £250 in the UK. I didn't pay that for this one. I actually got this one from eBay, nearly new, for £150. So not a bad saving there. Whether you want this or not really depends on your ancillary equipment, what headphones you're using, what turntable. Compared to what some people have, this would be a relatively cheap accessory. Maybe to others it'd be very expensive at the price point. as with all audio stuff, the sky is really the limit. You can spend as much as you wish. You can go tens of thousands of pounds for sets of speakers and things like that. I would say this probably sits nicely in the mid-market range. It's got some nice features. There's a bit of goo on here around the capacitors. It's just to stop them shaking loose. Strangely, it seems to be it's only these larger ones that actually have it. So I'm not really sure why that would be the case. But it just shows a bit of attention to detail. There must be a reason why it's there, and it's obviously expected to have a reasonable lifespan. So I'm just in the middle of putting this back together, and it's dawned on me that people will want to hear a sample of what it sounds like, which is absolutely fine if you have non-copyrighted material on vinyl. It's not something that I happen to have. I know that there's another YouTuber called Techmoan that had vinyl specially made for the purposes of doing demonstrations of equipment like this. I don't have that at the moment, so in order to avoid the copyright triggers, what I intend to do is take samples directly into the Zoom H1N, straight out of the output on here, which will be a line level output directly into the recorder, recorded at high bitrate, and then what I can do is upload that as a separate video or onto SoundCloud, which is my intention going forward. Like I say, that will be a separate video because I'd prefer to avoid this one being taken down for a 10-second video clip, which does seem a bit excessive, but I think YouTube have had a hard time over some of their copyright infringements, so it's fair enough, I suppose. So I'll continue putting this back together, and I'll speak to you in a minute. Well, it's all back together in one piece again. Went back together no problem at all, which I think is always a really good sign of a quality product. If it goes back together really well, then it's a sign it's been made properly in the first place. I did forget to mention there's a balance adjuster on the back. You can bias it towards the left or the right. I think that's for if you have an imbalance in your cartridge or your stylus. You can even it out, although I'm not sure how often you use that. I've just left mine in the 0 position. It seems to be absolutely fine. I just want to go through a couple of pictures as well while I'm waffling on here. One of how it looks in my setup and how it sits. It'll give you a rough idea of size next to the turntable as well, and the connections and things like that. And the other pictures, I was messing around with some lenses that I got from my iPhone. And one's a macro lens, so I took a few pictures of the cartridge, which is just the one that comes with the turntable. But for anyone that's not seen a record player stylus up close, it'll give you a good idea of how it works and maybe what I'm talking about. You know, the armature actually moves the magnet inside the cartridge, and why that signal would be weak and needs to be amplified by a contraption such as this. One question that a lot of people that are thinking about buying something like this would probably have is when you set moving coil and moving magnet, obviously people don't change their cartridges very often, so if you have one particular type and you set that, it does retain it in memory, so you don't have to set it again every time you turn it off and on. I believe that even stands when it's been powered down, so I'll be able to double check that once I plug this back in, but I'm fairly certain that's the case. So yeah, audio samples to follow. Like I say, I'll probably put them on SoundCloud, see how that goes, but the audio quality is not good enough on YouTube anyway to be able to discern a difference. But what I'm planning to do is take one sample of a song from the built-in preamplifier and the turntable, and another one from this, and I'll let you judge for yourself. I must admit, to my ears it sounds great. I think from the headphones and through the AVR, driving my monitor audio speakers, it sounds fantastic. I haven't actually listened to the two back to back to be able to discern a difference, but like I say, I'm not an audiophile per se anyway, so it's maybe better to upload some high bitrate audio and just let you judge for yourself. But yeah, thank you for watching.